the technical committee undertook the following: field visits to establish findings, reports from the respective deputy county commissioners, and socioeconomic data submitted by the respective county statistics officers of the areas visited. B, literature review on poverty indices in the country from annual economic surveys and reports prepared by the Commission on Revenue Allocation and the Equalization Fund. Mr. Speaker, the key findings and the recommendations of the report were as follows. A, there are areas currently designated as hardship or petitioned by stakeholders to be categorized as hardship. However, upon review, they were found not to be hardship areas. B, the severity of hardship in the reviewed areas vary from moderate to extreme. C, some of the currently designated hardship areas covered an entire county, sub-county, or division uniformly. It is also, however, noted that some regions have only specific locations with moderate or extreme hardship conditions, and the areas were reviewed and categorized appropriately. Not all public officers working in the hardship areas are compensated through payment of hardship allowance. This is due to disparities in the current policy guidelines on designated hardship areas in the public service. And E, some areas that were previously designated as hardship areas have acquired different status following implementation of the devolved system of governance and improved socioeconomic development across the country, and have been reviewed and recommended for degazettement. Mr. Speaker, the report of the Interagency Technical Committee on review of designated hardship areas and payment of hardship allowance in the public service was finalized and submitted to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, for concurrence. The SRC reviewed the report and provided approved rates and will issue advice to the public service on the new rates once the hardship areas are gazetted after this review. The reviewed designated hardship areas have been submitted to the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service for gazettement. However, I would like to add a rider that the Head of Public Service will present this before Cabinet before the gazettement is done. And that process is now being processed. Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Article 232(1), subsection B, on values and principles of public service, which provides for efficient, effective, and economic use of resources, I wish to inform this House that the implementation of the Interagency Technical Report will reduce the financial implications for payment of hardship allowance from 25.9 billion Kenya shillings to 19.5 billion Kenya shillings per annum, thereby effecting a saving or occasioning a saving of about 6.5 billion Kenya shillings per annum to the government and indeed to the Kenyan taxpayer. This is as a result of the proposed harmonization of the designated hardship areas in the public service. I wish to invite Parliament to really take cognizance of that possible saving if the report is implemented. 3, clarification was sought by Parliament on why some of the civil servants receive hardship allowance while others do not qualify, yet they are working in similar areas or environment. Mr. Speaker, the existing policies applied by various jurisdictions across the public service on designated hardship areas is currently not harmonized. Hence, the disparities in the payment of hardship allowances. These disparities have led to disharmony among employees of the civil service, teaching service, and the judiciary deployed in the same geographical region, with some earning the allowance while others are not paid. Mr. Speaker, currently, some public servants deployed in the same geographical region may be paid hardship allowance, while others do not qualify due to disparities in the areas designated as hardship. The civil service, county governments, state corporations, as I said earlier, have 16 areas as designated as hardship. Teaching service has 44. The judiciary has 21 hardship areas. So somewhere you can see we dropped the ball in this matter. The steps taken by the government to ensure the criteria used in determining hardship areas in the country is fair to all. This is another demand by Parliament. Mr. Speaker, to promote fairness, equity, and parity of treatment for employees in the public service, the government did constitute an interagency technical committee, and I've given the profile in the previous remarks, to address the disparities in the designated hardship areas. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics provided parameters to guide the interagency technical committee in reviewing the designated hardship areas. The parameters include food, water, transport, and communication services, social services, climate and terrain, security, and the poverty index. In addition, the Kenya Bureau of Statistics provided the weighted criteria for determination of the hardship areas. And again, as I said, this is attached to the statement. The Interagency Technical Committee prepared and submitted to SRC on the categorization of the designated hardship areas and payment of hardship allowance in the public service. The report proposed the designated hardship areas to be categorized into two: moderate and extreme, with varying rates of hardship allowances. The SRC reviewed the rates of hardship allowance for public service in line with the proposed categorization of the designated hardship areas and advised the gazettement of the reviewed designated hardship areas before implementation. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I once again wish to thank you for the opportunity to appear before the National Assembly. The Ministry of Public Service, Human Capital Development and Special Programs has prioritized the implementation of the interagency report that will provide for harmonization. I submit.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the CS for giving a very detailed response that also gives a historical background. Mr. Speaker, just like Honorable Jare Dokelo's constituency that has parts marked as hardship, also my constituency has parts that are marked as hardship area. I know Honorable Jare Dokelo's is mainly from flooding, mine is mainly from transport and communication. Mr. Speaker, you remember I was telling you in the House business that there's a part in my constituency. When you go, you use a boat or a ferry. Then if you manage to go with a car in a ferry, then you use a car up to a point, then you use a motorbike up to a point, then you walk, because there are parts even a motorbike can't go. So if you are talking about people who work there, they become truly hardship areas. I do understand because part of my constituency is that. But Mr. Speaker, I just want one of the concerns that Honorable Jared Okello had was that when you have parts of your constituency that is marked as hardship and parts that are not, then everybody wants to flood there. How do you ensure that you don't get, for instance, our teachers, that they are all not flooded in one area as hardship? And Mr. Speaker, for myself, I just wanted to ask, because I've listened to the CS very carefully, because this is something that is very dear to me as a representative of Suba North. One that have not had all the criteria that have been mentioned, has not talked about money, what do you call it, like manifestation of disease like tsetse fly. You've talked about climate and all that. And yet a lot of people are not able to go somewhere like Lambwe Valley because of things like that. And the other issue is I'm just wondering, because you had a very good interagency technical committee that has a number of people, and you have recommended, you have made very clear recommendations. But I'm wondering at what point you are coming up with a comprehensive policy that where you translate the recommendations to where the policy that people don't manage. You don't have has less hardship than teachers, for instance, from the numbers that you are giving. It can't be so. Hardship is hardship for everyone. So where do you have, when do you want to translate that report into policy or law, and where is the voice of the legislature?
Women Rep Tarakaniti.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the response that you received from the Prime Minister of Cabinet. From the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, I wish to ask that Igambangombe sub-county in Tharaka County has been identified and classified as an ASAL area. So I'm asking, when will this sub-county be gazetted as an hardship area so that the teachers and public servants in this area can start receiving the hardship allowances? Then, Mr. Speaker, sir, Tharaka constituency was a long time ago gazetted as a hardship area. Teachers have been receiving the hardship allowances, but other civil servants are struggling. Most of them transferring out of Tharaka constituency, and also Igambangombe, most of the schools are closing down because no teacher wants to be posted in that area. Most of them are transferring back to Tharaka and Kitui and other areas, other surrounding sub-counties. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes, Farah.
Mr. Speaker,
Very many of you want to ask questions, so everybody's limited to just one question.
Mr. Speaker, I have been around for a fairly long time, both in the country and this house. The original idea, object, and spirit of hardship allowance was to try and give an incentive to the areas that were historically marginalized, so that they can also, the officers who work in those places can have an incentive that pays them more so that they can cope with that life. And that was the former NFD and the pastoral areas, a few of them. And the same was the spirit for the Equalization Fund. Now we have a situation in which everybody wants to crowd into this and use every other criteria. Mr. Speaker, we are defeating the very basis, because the teachers in those areas, if you have seen, every time teachers are posted to those areas, they want to come back into the country because of insecurity, lack of infrastructure, and everything else. I don't have a tarmac road in my constituency.
Ask your question.
I'm giving, Mr. Speaker, I want you to indulge with me
You
on
are
this
debating.
because you have seen this area. You practiced law in Mandera, and the only way you could get there is by flying. Road was impossible. I don't have a meter of tarmac in my constituency, and many other constituencies are like that. Now, Mr. Prime Cabinet Secretary, I think we should avoid crowding this so that you then defeat the very purpose for which it was meant in the first place. So what are you doing to make sure that those areas that are seriously hardship, the original in law is the spirit and the object of the framers of that piece of legislation. It's not just the face value of the law itself or the practice. So what are you doing to make sure that those areas that were always hardship are also brought up to speed with the rest of the country so they do not remain hardship forever? And how then can you make sure that this thing is not crowded? Thank you.
I've allowed him the latitude because of his seniority. If anybody does that, I'll stop you. Member for Teso South.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the truth is every constituency has a pocket of marginalization or hardship. So my question is, what plans does the ministry have to review all these areas across the country and identify areas of hardship? Even in Teso South, there are areas where we have a sick person. We make a wooden bed to transport or even the body. It cannot be accessed. If you post a teacher will resign or not report at all because it's a hardship area. I have hills. So, and this replicates in so many other constituencies. So what plans does the ministry have?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I just want to point out two points.
Probably
okay.
PCS,
Yeah.
most of these questions, I'm hearing them not once, not twice. Most of them point at policy other than individual constituencies. So at the end of the day, we want to hear from you. Because listening to my members here is like we want to declare the whole country hardship. So you will have to give us a clear policy on, I'll give you members to ask your questions. For example, we need coherence in the policy in the country. Why would the judiciary decide on their own, TSC on their own, and administration on their own? Soon the police will decide on their own, and then we'll have a completely jumbled process of managing what hardship means. Carola Monde, one question each.
So, okay, I don't know how to phrase it, but I would be happy.
You're a clever lawyer. Phrase it the best way.
I think this House should have a view before the new categorization is gazetted. I think we need to see it because I can clearly see certain parameters are missing. If you take the Subas, we have islands, and islands are very unique. We have islands. We have Kiwak, Bogi, Remba, Ringiti, Rusinga, Mfangano, where they've never had roads. We have islands. There are areas that are unique because of insecurity. There are areas that are unique because of geography. You have a national park, you have mountainous areas, you have sesefly, as Honorable Millie has pointed out. We need to see it before they are gazetted so that we develop a proper criteria. And I think it is time we anchored this in law, not left it to bureaucrats in the executive. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Yes, Kajwa.
Speaker, I think the member for Suba South is extremely right. May I suggest, Mr. Speaker, to ask you to order the minister to bring this policy before the House under Article 95. It's a policy with far-reaching solutions of national importance, and any policy which has the effect of law. As a result, there will be a gazette which will be used by various agencies,
must be brought
before the Assembly, and we have an oversight role in policy making and legislation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, member for Buri. I'll come to you, Melemba.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think the criteria country as it is very discriminative. Mr. Speaker, my constituency borders Isiolo and Laikipia East and Laikipia North. I would like to the Cabinet Secretary to determine, using the same criteria, where Bole lies, because we are only, there's the fence, the other side is hardship, this other side, 50% of Bole is hardship. And we also benefit from our programs. So I don't know why it is like that, but I join the other members in saying we need to review that criteria and it has to be looked again. Because the assumption is Bore is in Meru and the Meru is very productive. Using that, from that perspective, my constituency is totally disadvantaged. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mashako. Mashako.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, PCS, for an elaborate discussion on this matter. Honorable Speaker, I have two concerns. One is Honorable PCS is indicating that the report will be tabled to Cabinet before it comes to the House. I want to join my colleagues who are saying, I think it's important we see this document before then. Honorable Speaker, I say this because the interagency committee that is the PCS is referring to was a product of this House. And it talked about 2019, 2018, Honorable Speaker, and early 2019, the entire Departmental Committee on Education responded to a petition that was done by teachers of Taita Taveta. And they traveled to Taita Taveta. They visited all the hardship areas of my county. That is being Undanyi, one zone in Mwatate and Taveta constituency. And after deliberations of this House, the House resolved that those areas need to be gazetted as hardship. But by the fact that the report went to Minister of Education and then Minister of Interior, it is when now they are, in their wisdom, they agreed to form the interagency committee, which has done a good job. But my challenge has been, Honorable Speaker, from 2021, 2022, when the report was done, it is coming to this House 3 years later. And it is missing out very key things. Honorable Millie has talked about challenges in traveling in his constituency. I'll tell you, he's not mentioned issues around human-wildlife conflict. That is a big issue in where some of us come from. So this must be one of the consideration in the categorization. Honorable Speaker, another thing that is critical is talked about the gazettement of some other areas. I don't know how you can, that can also cause a lot of mayhem in the country. So I want to agree that this report needs to come to the House. Let us see which areas will be gazetted and which have been declassified so that we can have debates and inform this policy. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, your indulgence. Number one, it would look that the teachers have more areas, but it's because their zoning, Teacher Service Commission went to an education zone. An education zone is far much smaller than what you can even call a ward. So as we deliberate, we must understand that originally there were teachers who were going to the smallest and every part of the country, and hence the 44. Having said that, so that we don't create competition between the teacher zoning and other zonings, that is important. Number two, Honorable Speaker, the teachers.
Omboko Milemba, I thought this House has been striving for harmonization. You are striving for pigeonholing teachers.
That is the history, but let me come to the second one. The second one is that the gazettement, and I pick up from the Member of Parliament, Taita Taveta, what he has said. The zoning of these hardship areas and the proposal to degazette them, remember the ones for the teachers, were actually part of the famous legal notice number 534. And many of them are part of the Code of Regulation. Honorable Speaker, both legal notice number 534 and the Code of Regulation are part of the CBA for the teachers. And therefore, that is law as registered in the Industrial Code. What is therefore the Honorable PCS doing to make sure that those gains that the teachers got in form of hardship allowance are not degenerated or go away with or go back to, given that this is part and parcel of now their CBA, which is registered in the courts. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Nyikal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me appreciate the detailed report that the Honorable Minister has given us. But my concern is when we have this policy that has been worked out and then it to be implemented, is it also associated with redistribution of staff, particularly teachers? Because if you do this new system and you regazette areas, degazette areas, it does not automatically change the staffing. Is there also a policy that will come together with staffing so that we do not have the old disparities existing? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Prime Cabinet Secretary for explaining to us and taking time. Mr. Speaker,
he has been thanked enough. Just ask questions.
Mr. Speaker, my question is in my area, Kipkelion East. Initially, from Total on your way to Kericho, towards the right hand, actually, or the right wing, it was actually categorized as hardship area. I don't know which method or category they used to remove it, because people in Tenteno area, Mr. Speaker, and also Kibwenge, plus Chepsion, the lower part, Chepcholiet, and Kamaru's area, this is a hardship.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mheshimiwa Speaker, my question is, when you go to Narok, some of the constituencies, the teachers are getting hardship allowance. But for specifically the other side of the road, some people get hardship allowance, on this other side, they don't get. And listening to the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Speaker, sir, he has indicated the factors that they use to categorize places that earn hardship allowance. Mine is, when you go to Narok North is hard hit in terms of transportation, infrastructure, communication, like where or hardship, the hard climate.
Ni sema ya kwamba eneo bunge la Lungalunga lina vigezo vyote ambavyo waziri amevitamka ili kwamba walimu na wafanyikazi wapate hizi pesa za ziada. Kama ni maeneo kama Mkwiro, Wasini, ni visiwa ambavyo wafanyikazi wanahitajika kuvuka kila siku kwa maji. Agency team ilienda ikafanya kazi yao, ikamaliza, ikaleta ripoti kwa maofisi haya ya serikali. Sasa nataka niulize Mheshimiwa Waziri Mkuu, kama hilo jina linastahili. Ni lini ambapo watu wa Lungalunga, waalimu na wafanyikazi watapata haki yao, kwa sababu maeneo kama vile Kinango wanapata na vigezo ni hivyo hivyo? Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Osoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, listening to the presentation.
PCS, I'm giving many members because it's almost the same thing. So when you respond, try and comprehend what they have said.
Honorable Speaker, I also want to
Yes,
inform,
Osoro.
also want to inform the House and the PCS that South Mogrango happens to border Migori. About a month ago, we had clashes between the border people who live within there, and our schools were closed for about 3 weeks or so. In fact, teachers can hardly, when teachers get transfers to that area, Honorable Speaker, they always look for transfers to other places. I do not know why South Mogrango is not regarded as a hardship area. It should actually be as today. Thank you.
Yes.
Devolution has caused urbanization in Nairobi to be congested. I mean, the fact that we've got so many informal settlements, insecurity is high. But what I'd like to recommend is that as we review and expand the criteria for hardship allowances, we need to look at the many and to harmonize hardship allowances across public services. And this reform will ensure fair compensation.
No, I want to go. No, I can't go. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, protect me from Osoro. This Mr. Speaker, protect me from Osoro. These hardship areas, Mr. Speaker, has categorized is the
task force. The government will be making a saving, which means there's going to be a